Hey, True Believers. Chris Mack coming at you today with Generation X number 19. This is part 18 of our Onslaught event, and I know we've been going over it for a while, but I've just kind of noticed that when I do a series, whether it's be the Marvel Comic Presents or Onslaught, etc., so forth, I figure if you kind of spread it out, it doesn't get monotonous and we can just enjoy it at our leisure, correct? Anyway, this was an interesting read. And if y'all remember from Generation X 18, Emma starts acting strange, as do the students, and Banshee's like, what is going on with my school? So anyway, they call this aptly at the beginning the Garden of Unearthly Delights, which kind of makes sense, and I just love how this big old toad's just sitting there like, zip. It just makes me laugh. Now let's go ahead and crack this bad boy up. And I like how this opening page is super meta. So I opened it and I saw Chamber and Skin here on this giant frog, and I'm like, where did they get this toad from? And then all of a sudden I love how Emmett sticks his head up in here and he goes, I have to go, guys. I'm needed on page 4. And this is what I mean by I miss when comics were fun like this, where you can kind of get a serious story or a lighthearted story and still have some meta humor like this. So speaking of which, the people that are responsible for this book is Lobdell writing, Bachalo art, Buckingham inks, Richard Starkings and Comicraft doing the lettering, colors, the Buka, enhancements, Malibu, and then again, this is why I miss Bob Harris and Tom DeFalco. Sleepless Nights, Harris, meaning Bob Harris was the editor-in-chief at this point. And the print date on this book was September 1996. Now, there are no, other than this panel, there is no other mention of Skin and Chamber. And that's because, if I remember correctly, they were on their way to the Xavier Institute because they couldn't get anybody on the line. So that's kind of where they are. And then, what I like here is, okay, we get some panels, dialogue, but I just like how these X's just sort of helps enhance the pages. You don't see that often anymore, so love that. And then I like that Lobdell really makes sure to get people brought up to speed on what happened last issue. So this toad says, for everyone who missed the first half of this story, too bad. Just kidding. So far, the White Queen has used her mutant mind manipulating powers on her students, who we all know and love as Generation X. She's brought them here to her estate in the wilds of northern Ontario because, well, I can't tell you. You have to read the story. And then, shoo, whack, there goes our third person narrator. And these are like Emma's manservants, I guess, for lack of a better term. And it's just all exposition right here, just to kind of, again, bring you up to speed. This one doesn't talk, I don't understand why. This one's talking about how Emma's acting weird and how the students are acting weirder. And speaking of which, here we are, Emma. Betty Cooker Cookbook. So blatant point at Betty Crocker, which, as you can kind of tell, this joke has not really aged well because, yeah, reasons. Anyway. Now, what I meant by things being weird is look at this. We got Jubilee acting like a gangster. What you looking at, you dirty rat? And then we get kind of the cheerleader M. What's the matter, Miss Frost? You told us to be ready for breakfast. Eee! And then Emmett. Peace, love, and everything. And then Husk. What's for eating, ma'am? Huh? Well, I went full goofy there for a minute. You never go full goofy. But yeah, there's something wrong in the state of Denmark here. Just look at our cast. You're just like, and it's a complete 180 of their what do you call it? Typical behaviors. And here's the thing too, is even Emma, even though we kind of noticed, the way she was acting last issue, she's still the same way. She's cooking for her students, and the recipe she's reading in Betty Cooker is asking for tomatoes, and she just starts using ketchup, and it's just kind of like, what the heck is going on? Now the students start acting a little reckless. Jubilee grabs the mixer here, starts trying to act like a gangster. Give me all your money, you dirty rat, and hits everybody with mixing dough. And then we get hit with an ad. Now check this out. Emma says, knock it off mentally. So you'd see her powers. I like how the art team here uses the lightning to show how she's hitting everybody. Now, look at this. If this doesn't sound like Stockholm Syndrome, get upstairs, wash up, and we'll try this again. Now. She's kind of like, oh boy. And then we keep seeing these toads. So it's like, what's going on with these toads? And now we jump into the former headquarters of Alpha Flight. Now, well, hold on. There's one thing I did forget. I just said, what's up with all these toads? Well, here's Toad. Now, what I like about this artwork here is Toad looks hideous and gruesome and monstrous. And I kind of feel like that's the way he needs to be because, you know, in modern iterations, he's kind of shown as like this geeky, nerdy kid. And back in the day, he was kind of just shown with like this like Friar Tuck-like outfit going on. I just kind of feel like this is kind of the Toad that we need because him looking like a nerd like in the X-Men and the Wolverine and the X-Men stuff like that just does not vibe. Nor like in, Wolverine and the X-Men comic book where he was, again, a nerdy looking dude that was a janitor. I don't know. I just kind of like this Toad. I kind of wish they would have kept this. Now, if y'all can bring me up to speed because it says here that, you know, Banshee ends up at the former headquarters of Alpha Flight. So think back, this was 1996. Alpha Flight has apparently been scattered to the four winds. What was happening during this time? Because this was a time when I wasn't very up to date on what was going on with Alpha Flight. But Banshee's here because he's trying to find help. You know, he's like, I like how he calls them like third string Avengers, but nonetheless, he needs help. So the only Alpha Flight member that is here is Sasquatch. And you know, when he's in his Sasquatch mode, I really like that he reminds me of Beast in a sense because he's playful and just really flapping smart. But there's something up with him. Like he seems kind of scatterbrained. So let me know what was going on. I don't know if this is an effect of Onslaught or whatnot, but yeah, help me remember how to pronounce his name. Langowski, is that how you say his last name? I always get tripped up on that. But yeah, I like that Sasquatch is in the book. And oh, speaking of which, guys, I know again that we've had to redo the club channel, so I will make sure to try to get all my Immortal Hulk videos back up. I gotta see which ones I have backed up and which ones I'm about to re-record, because again, you know, having to start over is such a pain. But we shall persevere, and I like Sasquatch in the Immortal Hulk run. Just really great stuff. And what I like here is the kids start to realize that something is up with them. You know, Emmett's here saying, why does my head feel like something isn't right in the universe? You know, Husk, I know what you mean. And then, you know, Jubilee's like, well, you're the brain, Em, you tell us. And she goes, who needs to think? Miss Frost would never let anything bad happen to us. That is definitely not Em's personality. And then she's just saying, have fun. But I like how the artwork here just really shows that, you know, even though what she's saying is not what she's feeling. And I can't read exactly what that says. It looks like it says help, help. And I don't know what that is right there. But yeah. And then all of a sudden, a tree is being torn apart, crashes into the estate, and no one's really alarmed about it. Even Jubilee says, this, you know, why can't we feel anything other than happy? And I like that Toad says, because you aren't in control. Now hang on, there's a particular panel I am looking for. Here we go. So this is, I guess you'd call it the mindscape or the astral plane, but she sees kind of this different, like younger version of M. And she goes, you don't even know it, but you're trying to protect Generation X the way you couldn't the Hellions. Subconsciously, you're keeping us safe by keeping us from the fight with Onslaught. But now we're in trouble with that pathetic creature called Toad. We can't fight back until you let go of our minds. So right there, it shows, you know, Emma's been acting different. But why was she acting different? Because you'd think that this was a conscious decision, but you learn that that's not the case. But why is she acting this way? Well, you're going to have to read the book and find out, because everything sort of kind of gets wrapped up, but there's still questions about, to read, kind of, push you to read the rest of the Onslaught event and gets you excited for the next issue. So in a way, you don't necessarily need to read this comic book to, read the full story of Onslaught. But however, I like that, each book took 1 or 2 issues, like Generation X, Wolverine, X-Force, I like that they kind of at least wanted to jump in on the fun. And it didn't feel like, there's quite a few books, but it doesn't feel as overwhelming as, say, like these modern events, like, the Asgard one that just happened. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Or like Age of X-Men and stuff like that. There just felt like there were so many books. And it started feeling that way just around Civil War II, and it's just been ridiculous since. The only current event that was decent was House of X and Powers of 10, which I'll make sure to get those videos uploaded again as well. But we are talking about Generation X and Onslaught. If you guys have enjoyed this comic book, please make sure to support your local comic shop, and if they have one in stock, pick it up. And right now, I know we're all locked indoors, and I know we're all kind of going crazy, but call your LCS, local comic shop, and see if they have this in stock. And they can either mail it, curbside service it, or they may even go out of their way to deliver it for you. But, if you don't call, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So make sure to check it out that way. And if you've enjoyed this review, we definitely appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little X bell next to subscribe, then when we upload new content, you guys will get notified. You can come to the channel, and we'd love to have a dialogue with y'all down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description below. So I hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.